By the time you
Yeah.
get to the home inspection portion, it's like you've been beaten with sticks. Now they have to rely on some stranger's word that this isn't a bad investment. And I'm looking at the wife, and she looks like she's about to burst into tears. The new construction, nobody's ever lived in it. The line was completely impacted with painter's rags to the point where it started overflowing.
We've seen a lot of people in this crazy market choosing to waive the inspection. What is the single biggest hidden risk a buyer takes when they decide to skip the inspection?
In a market defined by uncertainty, where every second counts, one opportunity can change everything. Are you ready to make your move? The time is now! Welcome to the Dream is Real podcast.
Welcome back to The Dream is Real. I'm your host, Kim, and whether you're buying your first home, looking for that perfect investment property, or just trying to navigate the complex world of real estate, you are in the right place. Before we jump in, take a quick second to hit that like button, subscribe to the show, and share this episode with someone currently in their own home buying journey. It really helps us to grow the community, people. Today, we are talking about one of the most stressful parts of the home purchase process, the home inspection. But we're joined by someone that turns that stress into Zen. I just love that name. So, with over a decade of experience in home improvement and a core philosophy of inspecting every house as if it's his own family, we're moving in. He is more than just an inspector, he's a true client advocate. Daniel Nowicki, owner of Zen Home Inspections. Dan, welcome to The Dream is Real.
Thanks for having me.
All right, great. So before we dive into the nuts and bolts of the inspection process, I want our listeners to get to know the person behind the flashlight. Okay, so for those who don't know you yet, tell us a bit about yourself. Like, where are you based? How did you get started in the industry? And what was that aha moment that led you to start Zen Home Inspections?
So my name's Dan. I started the company 5 years ago. We were based in Toms River, New Jersey, but we service the whole state of New Jersey. I have a wife and 2.5 kids. I have one on the way. And that's always kind of in
Congrats.
the, thanks. That's always kind of keeps me grounded as to what's important and some of the stresses maybe some of our clients are going through.
Mm-hmm.
Managing a family and buying a house, which is a big deal. My aha moment, I actually had one. I was getting my car fixed, and the guy came out and he said, it's going to be $1,700. And I said, okay, because what are you going to say? And I remember standing there thinking like, man, I wish I had a brother who was a mechanic or somebody I knew just 100%, whatever they said was the truth and in my best interest. And it takes that stress out of it,
Mm-hmm.
And I said, boy, if I feel that way for cars, it's 10 times more stressful with a house. Imagine that. And it just got the wheels turning in my head. Well, long story short, we started a company to try and fill that hole.
Okay, so were you doing like home improvement prior to? Like,
So
or you just,
immediately
yeah.
prior, I was a safety supervisor for a utility locating company for New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. But prior to that, I was a manager of a handyman company. I used to work for a home remodeling company. I worked for Anderson Windows for a while. So I worked at a bunch of different perspectives on the construction and home improvement industry.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really, really helpful. But then I kind of got, life happens, and I got kind of tied in with this nationwide company. And if it wasn't for COVID, I'd probably still be there. But it gave me an opportunity. I had some downtime, so I
Mm-hmm.
took my classes and became a home inspector.
Okay. Yeah, I'm hearing COVID helped prompt a lot of people into the home inspection part of it. That's what I'm hearing from a lot of home inspectors lately. Like, I guess it's just you in that property at the time. Most of the cases are in that period. How did you come up with Zen? Okay, because like home inspections, it's stressful. Like, so what made you, like, how did you come up with the Zen feeling of everything? How do you
You
calm
nailed
them
it.
down?
It's yeah, you know, that's exactly. I named the company because it's what I hope our little slice of the our little slice of the process. It's what I strive to make it, because it is chaotic. It's stressful. By the time you
Yeah.
get to the home inspection portion, it's like you've been beaten with sticks. I mean, really, these are tired people who are coming to me, and they're paying everybody they
Mhm.
meet, and now they have to rely on some stranger's word that this isn't a bad investment. You know, these things are manageable, and they have an idea of the condition of the house. So I try and remember that. I try and remember that feeling. You know, you do,
Yeah.
all these inspections, and there's a risk that it becomes uh, usual. You know what I mean? That it's just another client.
Mhm.
No, they have a
Mhm.
family too. They have, this is a, you don't know how long they've been looking for a house, how big of a dream this is for them, how stressful, how scared they are, how invested they are.
Yeah.
And I try and remind myself that on every client, that, to give them
Mhm.
that, take a second, talk to them, listen to what they say. Um,
Yeah.
I had, I had one, and I think this is a good uh, incident that captures what I'm talking about. I was doing an inspection with a husband and wife, young couple, and we found some issues. And when we were done, I was giving them sort of a rundown of what happened. And I'm looking at the wife, and she looks like she's about to burst into tears. And it was a strong feeling. I was like, she looks very unhappy. And at some point, I asked her, "Are you okay?" And she burst into tears. And the husband looked shocked. He had no idea. He was standing right next to her. He's in his own world. Now he's got his own concerns. And he had no idea his wife was about to lose it. And she starts sobbing. And he's, consoles her, and we're able to address that issue right then. Some things she was concerned about. But this is a stressful thing. And these are people.
Yeah.
You got to remember that.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear so much from like clients or and this is the terminology that I hear a lot of people use a lot, that they think of a home inspection as a pass or fail, you know. Um, I do project management as well as real estate, and I look at it a little bit differently. So I look at it more like a risk assessment. So you aren't really there to kill the deal, but you're more there to define the scope of what the buyer is actually taking on. So I guess in looking through those lens, can you explain to our listeners when you walk into a property, like what is your primary mission?
So in New Jersey, we're licensed. So that means the state actually determines what a home inspection is. Okay. Now you can choose to go above and beyond that. You can add your own little twist to it, but essentially, it's a visual examination of all the major systems of a house, and we're looking for essentially three things, which is performance. Is it doing what it's supposed to do? Safety, which is pretty obvious, and anything that can significantly affect the value of a house. Now, there's a little bit of gray area there. Significant is sort of in the eye of the beholder, right? What's significant?
Yeah, exactly.
So um, experience kind of helps you keep that relative. What's significant? Is it a nail
Hmm.
pop? Probably not, right? Um, and I think it's important, to keep our core mission in sight, but more importantly, to explain that to the client, so their expectations are accurate. Because I can do an amazing
Hmm.
job, but if you were expecting me to do something else, I can't deliver that. So I need to make sure we're all on the same page, that the client knows what we're looking for, and that way they'll be satisfied with the results.
Okay. All right. So I know a lot of clients, they can't tell the difference between like a scary looking crack in the drywall or another little silent issue that actually costs thousands, like a dated electrical panel or something like that. Right. It's easy to get distracted by the cosmetics, like the quartz countertops and all the little freshly new updates and everything. How do you coach a client to actually filter out all that noise so that they can actually focus on like the mechanical defects that actually impact the bottom line?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, one thing I really like is when the client's able to be there on site during the inspection. That makes everything a little bit more real. It gives me an opportunity to have FaceTime with them to be able to, show them what I'm talking about, why it's a concern. So that's a big benefit when you're able to have someone right there. I can show you why
Hmm.
this is a problem. Um, you know, uh, it, we write our reports to be very visual and explain everything, but there's nothing like seeing it in person. So that's a first step. When I can show you, I can show you. But it's important to understand how a house works without overwhelming them. So when you understand, why they're seeing what they're seeing and why it's not a concern, and sort of
Right.
all of a sudden now that's left their mind as something that they're on the hunt for. Nail pops are not a problem. It happens as the house settles. For an example, oh, okay, and you educated them, and now they know like, oh, that's not a problem. So and they'll know that forever. Now they've learned something new. So that's a big thing is being hands on, being having that FaceTime, and taking the time to explain it to them. Not just saying, "Hey, this is a problem. This is a problem. That's not a problem." Well, why is or isn't
Yeah.
it? You know, they deserve to know.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you go over the report and everything with them? Like I've seen a lot of people like after they've get in home inspection, they've actually just taken and put the report in a drawer after the closing.
Mhm.
And so it's like,
Mhm.
okay, you touched on those bigger ideas or those big facts that were standing there before your closing, but then there's all those other little minor things that eventually need to be updated and changed out as well. But they put them inside of the drawer.
Yeah,
Like,
that
do you
unfortunately
go?
that does happen. And
Yeah.
I understand, you have a goal, you have a finish line, and this part of the process is a stop on that goal. So a lot of times that drawer doesn't open until after they move in, and then I'll get a call, and I'll go, "Whoa, what about this, this, and this?" Hey, that's been there the whole time. You're just now having the time to evaluate it. So the first step is, well, on our reports, and it's good advice in New Jersey. They recommend we put in our agreements, client agrees to read the report and listen to our recommendations. We put that in our agreement. It sounds ridiculous, but what you described is
Wow.
exactly what happens, which is it's an overwhelming time. It's a lot of information,
Mm-hmm.
and it can be a little bit overwhelming. You know what I mean? Like it's like reading a stereo instructions or something. It can be like, what is this? Am I done? Is this all I need? Can we get the home insurance now and move in? So it's important to make sure that you tell them, hey, there's valuable information in here, and to go over it with them. So yeah, I do go over it with them. Any questions they have, we'll hop on a call, go over it line by line. I can tell you something and you'll know it. I'd much rather you understand it, because when you understand
Mm-hmm.
it, you can have that conversation naturally. My client can have that conversation with their lawyer, with their agent, with the team, and have a better feel for what they really want, what's really going on. If I tell you something,
All
you can
right.
repeat it, but it's not going to really help you.
The Dream Select Bootcamp app helped me pass my real estate exam and continues to help me to this day as a new agent. The AI mentor comes in clutch at open houses. Sign up today. You won't regret it.
Now that we've actually covered the general health of the home, like I want to dive into what I call like the asset protection. Um, I'm always hunting for that hidden liability, like the stuff that doesn't show up on those pretty brochures when you go in to see a house and stuff like that. But like I said before, a lot of people they fall in love with like the quartz countertops and open floor plan. So they completely ignore the infrastructure sitting under that slab or floating in the air. From looking on your website, you guys offer services like sewer scopes and air quality testing.
Yes, ma'am.
So, right? Okay. So let's get technical. Should we strongly advise that all buyers get a sewer scope, especially on older homes?
The short answer is yes. Um, I mean, listen, if I hit the Powerball, I'd get every test they made known to man. I mean, more information is
Yeah.
good. But with a source scope, uh, the tricky part about a source scope, and what that is, most houses that are connected to a city sewer have a pipe that connects that house to that sewer, and everything that goes down the drain, the shower, the toilet, the sink, ends up in that pipe. And it's typically 4 to 6 feet underground, although sometimes it gets deeper.
Mhm.
And sometimes you can see a little piece of it in your basement as it goes out into the wall, and that's it. So if something's going on with it, you normally don't know until one day you flush the toilet and it comes in instead of goes out.
Mm.
And if you're like me, that's probably like a Tuesday morning when you're trying to get the kids ready for school, and it's panic city. And you at this point you don't have time to price shop. You're not getting three quotes. You're desperately calling to see who can come put your life back on track right now. And then when you find out it's $10,000 to $15,000 to fix, it's jarring and it's terrifying, and it's
Yeah.
necessary. It's not a maybe we'll budget for it. It's time. So a source scope, we put a camera in that line, and we're able to detect there's any deterioration, blockages, anything that can cause a malfunction, and identify it before you take ownership, because that's really your only chance. After that, you have no eyes on it. It's underground. So that's a very valuable inspection.
Mhm. Okay. Do you find that some people do it even after they have a home?
Yeah. Normally, when they've had a problem in the past, they're the best clients for a story. I don't even have to mention it to them. They'll ask me, "Hey, do you do this?" Because they know if it's happened to you, and you never forget what a nightmare that
Right.
is. So it becomes very important all of a sudden.
Okay. Can you actually like explain like what does a failed line look like? Like when you're going through there,
Sure.
what does the camera show?
So it depends on the material. So you mentioned older houses. So older houses
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes used cast iron or clay, which, by the way, are both still in use. Like they're both still being
Mm-hmm.
put in the ground sometimes. Well, those are materials that have a life cycle. Cast iron you get maybe 70 years, give or take. What happens is it starts corroding and rusting. So one thing that happens is as those pipes rust, they start flaking, and those flakes catch debris,
Mm-hmm.
toilet paper or whatever, and it
Mm-hmm.
starts a clog. Um, More directly, what happens is sometimes you just get a hole in the pipe, and then trees find it, and you end up with roots in the pipe. And if you're a tree, finding a sewer line with a crack in it's a wonderful thing. It's an infinite supply of nutrient
Of
rich,
water.
yeah, water. I mean, you're like king tree, but unfortunately
Yep.
for you, that's not good. So root growth is a big one. I mean, we've seen some really jarring examples of failure, and it looks like all of a sudden I'm in your garden, and the lines are just completely blocked, impacted by
Wow.
roots. I've also had on new construction where I wouldn't have thought to offer a source scope, doing the scope and come across a complete blockage of painter's rags from the guys who were new construction. Nobody's ever lived in it. The line was completely impacted with painter's rags to the point where it started overflowing into the living room, um,
Wow.
during testing. So uh, it's a great idea because there's no other way to have eyes on these issues until it starts impacting you.
I just wonder what they were doing with those rags when they was on that site.
Yeah.
But it's incredible how much a $300 to $500 test can actually save you. Like just spending a few $100 today, preventing you from doing what was it like $15,000 later on down the line.
Yeah, and that's easy. If
So
you go
yeah.
to some of these cities, and this is something to consider, and this is probably good information. You own that line until it connects to the city sewer. So even if it's in the street, it's yours. It doesn't end at the
Mm,
curb. So now if you imagine here in New Jersey, so if you imagine you're in Jersey City or Hoboken, and now you have to
mm,
stop traffic, and now you have to get traffic control because you have to shut a street down so they can dig your pipe up. Now we're looking at
mm.
something probably greater than 15,000, right? You're talking about stopping a street in Jersey City. Now you're paying for police, you're paying
Yeah.
for traffic control, you're getting permits, you're getting, you know what I mean? So
Oh my
it's all of
God.
a sudden,
It really adds up.
yeah,
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So things like radon, okay, and sometimes mold, um, those are like invisible risk, right? You can't smell them, but you can't see them during a walkthrough. How do you explain the severity of these environmental risks to a client who thinks, Well, the house looks and smells fine, so why do I need to test the air quality?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's probably a little easier for mold because even if you don't know anything about houses or house science or biology, most people
Mm-hmm.
have something in their head to go, mold's not good. But when you talk about radon, a lot of times you have to explain,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, what we're even talking about. You know what I mean? If you've not
Yeah.
purchased a home, there's a very high chance you have no idea what radon is. Uh, so
Can you
just
explain
real
to our
quick,
viewers what it
yeah,
is?
yeah, real quick. So radon is a naturally occurring gas. Excuse me. So 2 miles under your feet, there's rocks and stuff underground, and part of that makeup of the geology is uranium, which is radioactive. As uranium breaks down, one of the elements it breaks down into is radon. And the reason that matters is because radon lasts long enough to come all the way up through the soil as a gas and enter our environment. Now, if
Mm-hmm.
that rock's been there since the ice age, so if along the last couple centuries someone decided to build a house in that spot, well, that gas comes up and it hits the bottom of the house, and if you have any cracks in the concrete, plumbing penetrations, anything, I mean, masonry's porous, that gas makes its way inside. The reason it matters is because it causes lung cancer. It's the number one cause of lung cancer in the entire country for non-smokers. 18 to 21,000 people every year die from radon related lung cancer. And nobody knows about this
Wow.
stuff, unless you're, in this industry where, we deal with it. A lot of people are oblivious. So we test for it. Now, it can be mitigated, but we test for it. So during this transaction, you have an opportunity to find out A, if you have a problem, and B, if you have a problem that is severe enough to need mitigation, and who's paying for that. And that's where the radon test comes in.
Okay. So, if I understand correctly, though, there's no specific type of property, whether it's flip, new build, old historic home, because it's so far underground, where you would almost insist that a client doesn't skip these extra tests.
Yeah, I mean, there's areas of the state that have higher likelihood of having radon. Typically, the more mountainous,
Mm,
the more hilly area have more geology going on underneath.
yeah.
You have a higher chance of having some uranium. But I'll say in New Jersey, we have 21 counties in New Jersey. All 21 have had, excuse me, somebody test over the limit for radon. So you can have it anywhere.
Mm,
I've done townhouses where the unit on the far end did not have radon, and the unit two in from the left hand side had a high radon count. So if your house just happens to be over that spot, bad luck for you. You certainly want to know about it, um, so you can take appropriate action.
right. So, thanks for that info. So,
Yeah.
you know, let's just address one of the elephants in the room, right? We've seen a lot of people in this crazy market choosing to waive the inspection just to get an offer accepted. It's a massive gamble in some cases, like buying a car without ever popping a hood, right? You don't want to do that. So, in your professional opinion, what is the single biggest hidden risk a buyer takes when they decide to skip the inspection entirely just to win a bidding war?
The single biggest, that's tricky, right? If
Mm-hmm.
I had to pick one, I'd say you may have a condition that makes your house uninsurable. So
Mm-hmm.
everything may be right up to the finish line, and then you can't get homeowners insurance, or uh, you have it assessed at some point after you move in, and you get dropped
Mm-hmm.
because you have these conditions you didn't know about. You have an electrical system that's been recalled, for example. You have knob and tube wiring. There's a few different things that, and insurers, at least in New Jersey, are getting more strict. They're asking for more documentation. They want more information, and they want all that because they're trying to limit their liability. So you should try and limit your liability. You want to know what you're walking into, and that's probably the biggest thing, is that you
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden have something that now you have to change immediately, or you're
Mm-hmm.
going to lose you have 90 days to change your entire electrical system. Well, guess what? That would have came out during inspection, and that's valuable to know.
Yeah. Okay, so I have some clients though that they're buying a brand new construction or it was fully gutted, renovated home. So, and then they're asking like, okay, well, why am I spending the money on an inspection, like when the house has a new, fresh certificate of occupancy and everything is brand new? What
Yeah.
would you tell them?
Talk to somebody who has a new home. That'll cure that. That'll cure some. I do a lot of new construction. Probably
Uh-huh.
I probably do 35% of my business is new construction, maybe a little bit more. Uh, big nationwide builders, custom homes, production builders, we do it all. The
Mm-hmm.
stuff I find is unbelievable. And even to me, while I'm fine, like I still can't believe it sometimes. People make mistakes, but also sometimes people aren't doing the right thing. Um, there's conditions I find on new construction that I know if it was the person installing its house, they wouldn't have done. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Structural issues, moisture issues. Um, there's a lot of great resources out there for new home buyers. There's really great like messaging apps, and it seems like most of these communities have like a text chain between the neighbors, which is really great. But
Mm-hmm.
talk to people. I'm confident that if you speak to two people who bought new construction, they'll tell you to get a home inspection, even if they didn't,
Yeah.
especially if they didn't.
They would have probably found those painters rags.
Yeah, yeah. That's my best advocate for
Okay.
new construction, by the way. That's my best advocate is people I've done inspections for, or they did just a
Uh-huh.
10-month inspection, like a warranty inspection. And the stuff we find, all of a sudden I'll get a call from both their neighbors on either side of them, because chances are they're experiencing the same things.
All right. So this is exactly why we do what we do, right? So before we wrap this up, I want to clear the air for some of our listeners. I have some questions that clients are often too scared to ask. So let's do some quick myth busting. All right. All right. So if the inspection report is 50 pages long, it means the house is a total disaster.
False. If your home inspection report isn't 50 pages long, you probably paid your inspector too much. Because there's a lot. It should be 50 pages long.
All
Now,
right.
does that mean it's 50 pages of defects? No. We're required to put information in by the state. There's information in there that maybe isn't necessarily geared toward the client. It's things we have to put on. But most inspection reports can be bullet pointed or itemized, where it'll pull up just the defects or just the serious defects. I know we use color coding, so you're able to see how many important things there are. But I
Mm,
always tell my client, don't be overwhelmed by the size of the report. You hire us to find the things that aren't working, not the things that are.
yeah.
And I'll tell them that during the inspection too, um, because I don't want them to open that first page and have a heart attack and wonder how they got out of that house
Hmm.
alive. um, you know, and also the
Yeah.
amount of problems doesn't equal a dollar amount. And I'll say this to the client every single inspection. You may see 13 serious issues. Some of them may be a screw
Hmm.
that, and it's a 30-cent fix. It's an important screw.
Hmm.
It's like putting your seatbelt on when you get in a car. Not difficult to do. Very important.
Right.
So it doesn't always mean it's going to be a huge expense and the deal's killed. But, there's some things that
Hmm.
are important to take care of.
Yeah. Okay. So next myth. You're going to tell me exactly whether or not I should buy this house at the end of the day.
It's the number one question we get. That's it. So what do you think? You know, uh, first of all, any home inspector that answers that question is doing everybody a disservice. You know, um, I did a $4.5 million inspection the other day, and the guy asked me, "Would you buy this house?" Man, I can't even conceptualize buying this house. Like we're looking at this from two different places, man. So that's one thing. You don't know what's going on in someone's life. And that's a
Right.
big decision to make. Um, so uh, home inspectors should not tell you whether you should buy a house or not.
Hmm.
But to take it to a smaller level and answer the specific questions. Hey, how bad is this foundation problem? How bad is this electrical issue? Is this something to be concerned about? That's a better question.
We're going to give you more of the health of the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the decision, that's up to you.
All right. So last myth. I can just save the fee and just do the inspection myself with a high-powered flashlight and YouTube.
Yeah, man, YouTube. Man, YouTube takes care of everything. Yeah, so
DIY.
I actually enjoy, so it's false.
Mm-hmm.
Often I'll have a client who's really into it. Like I turn around there in a crawl space with me. Like that happens. And it always makes me feel good about what I do because they're always shocked at what I find that was right in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
We do this every day. You don't even know most of the time what problems to look for. If something's not dripping on you actively, you may not know it's a problem staring at you. So always get a professional. In New Jersey, like I said, we're licensed, so make sure somebody's licensed. Uncle Bob's great to have around. He's really helpful. He's got great information, but he's a pipe fitter, not a home inspector.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there's a reason we exist, and there's a reason there's over 1,000 of us in New Jersey alone, because we have valuable information for you.
Yeah. Knowledge is power, but professional knowledge, that's protection.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So before we wrap it up, I'm going to give some extra value to people who are listening who aren't currently in the middle of a transaction, but maybe they've lived in the house for about 5 or 10 years and they haven't looked at their infrastructure in a while. Like, what is one simple task that they should do now to inspect their home and should save from a massive repair bill maybe about a year from now?
Walk around your house after it rains. That's probably the easiest, simplest thing you can do. If you notice anywhere that water's pooling up, if you notice any downspouts or gutters that are overflowing, water's probably, if I had to pick one thing to tell a homeowner, water is
Mm,
bad. Water is now your mortal enemy. It is the great destroyer. It made the Grand Canyon. Like if you have a
right.
water issue, that's where your foundation issue comes from. That's where your mold issue comes from. That's where the settlement
Hmm.
comes from. It affects so many things. That's where the rot comes from. Termites love wet wood. So it's like if you have a water issue, you may have all those other issues lined up. So
Mm,
when you get a good rainfall, walk around, um, and you'll notice those little subtle areas that all of a sudden you have a lake on the right side of your house where you'd never go. That's valuable information. That's something you want to take care of because that will
mhm.
cause you the big ticket items down the line.
Okay. All right. Great, Dan. This has been an incredible conversation. So before we sign off, where can our audience find you? Like, what's the best way to contact you for an inspection?
So you can find us on our website, which is Zen Home Inspections LLC.com, or if you Google Zen Home Inspections, we'll come up. Or we can always be reached on our number, which is 908-783-1648. That's our office line. We pick up all the time. So if you have any questions or problems, please don't hesitate to reach out, and you'll be talking to me.
All right. Thank you again for being a guest today, Dan. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to another great episode. As always, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe to The Dream is Real on YouTube and Spotify. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Dream Select Realty, on X at Dream Select Home. And if you have a story to tell you would like to be a guest on our show, please reach out to us at hometeam@dreamselectrealty.com. We're here to help you navigate your journey with confidence. So thanks for listening. And until next time, always remember the dream is real.